Hello and welcome to today's TechFinitive webinar in association with Insightsoftware Data and Analytics. I'm Tim Danton, editor of TechFinitive.com, and today we will explain how to make your products the smartest person in the room. The giveaway subtitle is AI and Analytics Embedded Together. Now, I'm delighted to welcome first Jeff Hainsworth, Senior Product Manager of Insight Software Data and Analytics. Hi, Jeff.
Hi there. Thank you for having us.
No, but our pleasure. And second, Danny Narami, who is Director Solutions Engineering and Site Software Data and Analytics. Welcome, Danny.
Hello, glad to be here.
Hi. Okay, so what can you expect from today's webinar? Well, it's more about what your customers' expectations are. They expect intelligent experiences embedded right where they work, not in separate tools they have to switch context to use. But most platforms do force you to choose. They either embed analytics with limited customization and no AI, or they add AI capabilities that hallucinate and can't be trusted. Now, we don't believe that you should have to compromise. So today we are going to see how Logi Symphony and Simba intelligence work together to deliver both sophisticated analytics and governed AI directly inside your applications without the usual trade-offs. It's all about creating intelligent products where analytics and AI work together seamlessly, and users get both the visualization they need and conversational intelligence they can actually trust. So what exactly are you going to learn today? First of all, we're going to talk about how to embed both visual analytics and conversational AI without forcing users to leave your application. We're going to talk about why APIs and customization matter, more so than simple iframe embedding for creating if you want to create differentiated products. We're going to talk about real-world patterns for combining natural language queries with interactive dashboards, why deployment flexibility, so cloud, on-premises, hybrid, with full AI capabilities everywhere, gives you the competitive advantage you need. And finally, how governed driver-level data access eliminates AI hallucinations at the source. So the short answer to my question of what you're going to learn today is a lot. Without further delay, then, let me hand over to Jeff.
All right, let me just share. Should be up. Excellent. Okay, today we're going to start with a fairly simple agenda between what Danny and I are going to show. So I'll give you an introduction to Insight Software, including our North Star and how we help organizations. Then I'll introduce Logi Symphony, our flagship embedded BI and analytics platform. And we'll also talk a little bit about the problem of AI and what it's creating today in the analytics space, followed by an overview of Simba intelligence, and then a live demo and Q&A. So that more specifically, the steps involved. Next slide. So briefly onto Insight Software. I mainly want to give you a little bit of an introduction to the company, more for clarity than anything else. Insight Software is a private equity company that owns hundreds of products, most of them solving financial use cases for the office of the CFO. And if you went over to the Insight Software website right now, you might be a little confused because a lot of the messaging and language there focuses on that office of the CFO and financial products. And I wanted to make it very clear from the start that this is not the group you're talking to or hearing from right now. We are as far from that as it gets. The office of the CFO is not our clients. We represent the data and analytics group of Insight Software, who is all about data, helping builders embed trusted intelligence into their products. So we certainly benefit from the larger organization, but the data and analytics group within Insight Software is separate and not tied to that office of the CFO in any way. So in case you do stumble onto the website, just wanted to provide that clarity up front. And by the way, we are in the process of differentiating this branch of the organization even more so that will change over time. But in its current state, just wanted to make that clear. So on to what we're offering today. So what does data and analytics do within Insight Software? Our North Star is to help you make your products the smartest person in the room. We do this with embedded AI, analytics, and some capabilities that we're not really focused on today. And generally, we help builders embed trusted intelligence into every product. And narrowing that statement down very quickly, the wording that you see on the screen here is very deliberate. We focus on builders, we focus on embedding, and the focus is definitely on that trusted intelligence within the products they deliver. So that really is our guiding light, and our North Star. Now, there are a lot of products and a lot of heritage that has gone into what we have today within data and analytics at Insight Software. In many ways, we've been a founding member of data and analytics. Simba, as an example, invented the ODBC standard for data connectivity. Dundas Chart kicked off much of the early technology behind Power BI. Logi Analytics is well known in the developer community for embedded analytics. All of this knowledge has sort of culminated into the product that we're going to show you today, Logi Symphony. And again, for clarity, Logi Symphony is part of a broader stack, and there are more applications here if you'd like to explore further. So you can see that stack here. And we've got several noteworthy platforms within the data and analytics suite. Logi Report is exceptional for pixel perfect embedded reporting. Logi Info is all about low code, no code app development. And Simba, as I mentioned, is all about data connectivity. Simba Intelligence is our AI semantic platform. But let's first get into Logi Symphony, which I mentioned in the agenda, which is our advanced analytics and AI for the embedded use case. You can skip that. So the premise behind this application is pretty straightforward. As we all know, data volumes are exploding, right? Data sprawl is everywhere. And when it comes to user expectations, people don't want to wait. They want their data now. And as always, messy data prep is kind of the #1 killer of analytics projects. Our approach is to allow your analytics to stay put and we basically employ a zero copy methodology. Your data stays where it lives, your analytics travel with your application. And when I say travel with the application, I do mean everywhere. We are an on-premise first application and something that you can also deploy in your own private cloud as an example. But that's a huge benefit because we don't force you or your customers into any particular ecosystem. So if you want to live in a specific environment that has very sensitive or regulated data, you have the flexibility to maintain control and security. So some of the benefits from Logi Symphony, what does it offer that really makes it stand out? So first, it's one platform capable of delivering infinite experiences. The challenge with embedded analytics is that different users have different skill levels. You may have technical users who want to do their own self-service over here and build their own dashboards. That's great. We provide an interface for that. But you may have users who want something lighter, maybe more raw data or basic reporting. We have that too. Users who want full control, modeling, predictive analytics might work best in a workbench style interface. Or within your application, you may want to govern those dashboards and have pixel perfect tailored content to your users. The point here is that we don't force you into a one size fits all model. You can deliver multiple interface types depending on your user personas. And as a product owner, you can mix and match. So maybe you want to start with a blend of self-service and governed dashboards. But maybe for your application, the right mix would be something added on top of that, some of the self-service capabilities. So this alone gives you tremendous control. And speaking of control, you control not just the content, but the entire experience and the underlying data flow. Different users have different permissions and different authentication methods. Within the content itself, different users have access to different dashboards, different data, multi-tenant setups to allow organizations to see maybe their own branding when they access content, and of course their own slice of the data. And you can enable or disable features so that power users perhaps get a richer experience than users who are casual and need a more simplistic one. And all of this spans all the way down into governance and data security, including role level security and user level security. So all of this kind of culminates into an exact user experience that you can envision. We're not just embedding an off-the-shelf product like you would with a lot of the BI engines that are out there. This is truly catered and really set up to match what you need. So a couple others. As I mentioned earlier, when it comes to deployment, there's no vendor lock-in. We don't force you into any specific cloud. We give you the software, you decide where it lives and how it's deployed. And beyond that, the system is also API rich. So you can customize it as deeply as you want. If you want to add new visualizations, go for it. If you want to write a custom export format, it's all yours. Like, you have complete control. Even things like the authentication process are often places where you might want to use the API so that it fits smoothly with what you've already developed in your applications. The entire platform itself was actually built to be API first, so customization is heavily in mind. On the front end, we give you an extensive library of visualizations. If you can picture it, you can probably build it. Rich visualization capabilities, complete control over really the smallest detail, and of course, white labeling. So you can brand this that will match your application seamlessly. Of course, none of this matters if you don't have access to data. So with Logi Symphony, we include data connectors for all major data sources. And as I mentioned earlier, we also have Simba as a fallback, which provides drivers for virtually every major vendor, from Google to Snowflake to Databricks. We're in a pretty unique position to say that we can connect to anything. Now, taking data one step further, connecting is one thing, but how we process and use data is another. So under the hood, we've actually got two patented data engines at your disposal. The first is what we call data sharpening. And the idea here is all about accelerated performance. So think of it as a system that's pulling data very quickly during a user query, usually for self-service. And it gives your users this high-level view immediately. And then in parallel, kind of kicks off these other processes to increase the resolution of that data over time. So it's all about responsiveness and still processing large data volumes at the same time. This is something really unique in this space. The second is our patented in-memory caching engine, ideal for temporary performance storage and fast analytics. So if you want to allow your users to spam queries at the system really quickly, no problem. Now, I also mentioned earlier that data preparation is kind of the #1 killer of analytics projects. So to solve that, we provide a data prep layer. You can connect to multiple data sources, add transformations, calculations, filtering, whatever you need to get that data into a ready to visualize state. You can even add a layer of Python or .NET code for advanced calculations, sentiment analysis, or heavy AI-driven predictive analytics. It's kind of an open world for you if you want to go that far. I'll touch really quickly. That was kind of your mile-high view of Logi Symphony, and Danny will get into details with the demo. But we've been recognized by many vendors across the space. I won't drain the slide here, but this is something that you should definitely explore if you're looking to embed analytics into your applications and make your product the smartest person in the room. And one thing that I intentionally left out with Logi Symphony when it comes to those capabilities is AI. So for AI, we leverage a separate product, Simba Intelligence, that works with Logi Symphony, with the purpose of basically turning enterprise data into trusted data for AI. So let's get into that. Now, I do think that AI needs a little bit of setup before we get into it. So first of all, you've all heard the statistics. The numbers are everywhere. AI has a very real problem of moving from pilot to production. It's super cool on the demo side of things, but does it actually work when push comes to shove? Right? There are ongoing debates of whether AI is in a bubble, and that's really what Simba Intelligence is kind of designed to solve. We're getting the data into production with real data, not stuck in that pilot purgatory. So let me give you a little bit of setup. As I said, this might be new for some people, but AI fundamentally has a data problem. An LLM is not like an ELT tool or BI application where you can go ahead and like purchase a driver from a third party and then instantly get access to data. It's far more complex. Data access is one of the biggest issues. And then there's governance. You can't give an AI system full access to everything. So your users need to be, user-based security, sort of like we talked about on Logi Symphony, and control. Also, data preparation, something we also mentioned, hasn't gone away either, and it's still a massive pain point for AI. And then you've got contextualization. So simply having access to the data isn't enough. Experts know that data and the meaning behind it is very important. So we actually do allow you to contextualize what the AI is seeing so that it can give you better results. Like AI doesn't have that luxury of simply understanding what's in there. It sees tables, and if it doesn't really understand the way you've structured it, you're going to get a hallucination. So you have to supply that context. And then finally, monitoring. You need kind of oversight to verify the outputs that is giving you. How do you know it's not a hallucination? So without evidence and traceability, you can't trust it. Another issue that is, in the AI space is hooking it directly up to live operational data is both difficult and dangerous. You can't just plug it in, as I said. You need to connect to the sources. You need to prep that data. You need to run ETL. You need to ensure those queries work. You've got to apply governance. You get the idea, right? Layering in contextualization, only then to load it into something usable. It's complicated as well, right? You've seen the effort I kind of just laid out for you. But it's dangerous because uncontrolled queries without any governance can cause serious problems. Anyone who digs into this and sees these concerns pretty immediately, right? You have an AI system and it's spamming queries that are maybe not performant. You could take down an operational system. So it's definitely a concern that people have. So if any of this sounds familiar, it's because these are the same challenges that we've solved in the BI and analytics side of things. When I was talking Logi Symphony, data access to operational sources, we've been doing that for 30 years. Simba with data prep and data modeling, we've done it. We solved this across multiple products. Contextualization, business logic, we've solved that as well. Governance and access control, solved. Right? Transparency and predictability. The entire idea behind the one version of truth that AI is kind of facing was a sentiment in the analytics world for a long time. So now we're applying that expertise and that technology to AI through Simba Intelligence. So give you a brief look at what Simba Intelligence actually does. First, you can connect it to any operational data source. Once connected, we can launch agents that scan your data, identify relationships, and automate much of that data preparation that we talked about. Now, it's still human in the loop, and you still get to see, you'll get to see more of that in the demo. But what this can do is it can take a lot of that tedious work away. From there, we can enrich the data, add business rules, context, so that the LLM actually understands what it's looking at. Governance and access control are then applied in real time as the user poses queries. And of course, in terms of actually using it, you can use it directly in your LLMs. So internally at insightsoftware, we use Claude. I can open up a Claude window, add the tools, and simply start asking questions on my data. Or, as probably more appropriately themed for this webinar that we're doing, you could embed it into your own products. So you could have a chat interface that has that full semantic context and really understands your data, so it's not going to start hallucinating like crazy. So how you use it? Well, we talked about that. Let's skip that for now. But essentially, I think we can probably run into a demo at this point. And I'll pass this over to Danny, who can show you how these two products work together.
Perfect. Thanks, Jeff. Let me go ahead and share my screen. And I'm going to start off with a demonstration of Logi Symphony first, and then we'll pivot towards Simba Intelligence and showcase how that stands as its own AI solution or as a complementary solution to Logi Symphony. Now, if you remember the North Star that Jeff mentioned, it's all about how we can help you make your product the smartest person in the room. So right now, I'm logged in to a product called Insight Health, and I've logged in as a user called Brian Williams. The idea being that within that product, within that application, the user, Brian Williams, should be able to see analytics baked right in, but not feel like it's coming from another solution. That's the goal that we want to give to our customers when it comes to Logi Symphony. So intertwined between menus and other elements that might be standard in your application interface are going to be dashboards, charts, reports, and self-service analytics. And we have a little trick here in the demo where I can click this blur icon, and everything blurred is coming from the parent Insight Health application. Everything not blurred is coming from Logi Symphony. So without that trick, you can see to an end user, it's white labeled and styled and themed to look and feel exactly like the parent application. So we want to allow you to do that regardless of what your app looks and feels like. The analytics can match that that theming. And it goes beyond just the look and feel. It's also the experience that you want to provide to your users. So in this case, let's walk through this application. I'm logged in as a healthcare professional, in this case, a doctor that might be involved in different clinical trials. And we want to give the doctors the ability to see a quick summary snapshot of the trial performance, but then start doing some digging into the data to gain further insights and information beyond the high-level summary. And that's exactly what we were able to build with Logi Symphony and plug into the application here. So we have high-level analytics at the top, and we can scroll down to a more detailed view dashboard where the doctors have filters that they can adjust to narrow down what they're looking at, as well as curated interactivity that we've created as part of those dashboards. And this is all done using our dashboard designer, so no code involved. And what we mean by curated interactivity are things like allowing the users to change what their charts are grouped by, but in a controlled fashion, where you as the product team have designed this in a way that's going to be familiar to your users. So being able to maybe change the grouping based on the types of treatments that patients were receiving or what the patient health conditions were. So letting users perform customization without fully opening the floodgates. This also includes things like controlled drill down interactions. So as I prompt over a chart, I get a tooltip letting me know some details, but also letting me know that I can double click to drill down. And when I do that, it drills down both the chart that I selected as well as the table on the side to narrow the focus of the data. So these are all things that you can build and create with Logi Symphony without using any code, just using our built-in dashboarding tools. And they're available to then embed and style and theme exactly the way that your application is requiring them. And to kind of emphasize on that, this is all done without the use of iframes. So why is that important? Well, beyond just the look and feel and the styling, as you can see here, with these dashboards and charts existing as part of your application, as opposed to a frame pointing to another page, most modern browsers are going to give you troubles when it comes to iframe embedding and security associated with that. So we're taking that out of the equation by giving you the JavaScript embed code to put directly into your app. And beyond the security side of things, there's also the functionality side of things. Because we don't rely on iframes, these elements exist as part of your application. So you can fully control what happens when users interact with them. So if I've narrowed down my results after performing some drill downs and interacting with the charts, maybe I now want to learn a bit more about a particular patient. So I can click on one of the data points in a chart, and it can now navigate to another page within the Insight Health application and pass along the value that I clicked on. So I clicked on the particular patient called Amy. I'm now looking at that patient's statistics, and that navigation is happening within my application, even though I'm interacting with content coming from Logi Symphony. And you can see that further here. In this example, we're seeing the patient's health statistics, but maybe I wanted to know a bit more about the general definitions of some of these different statistics. So I can click on one of these cards, and what pops up is from my application, a description, details that I've set up and created about what that particular health indicator is. So what we're seeing again is interactivity with content inside of Logi Symphony or created inside of Logi Symphony, but because it's being embedded as part of the parent application, I can now make it communicate and talk with the parent app, and that can be a back and forth communication. So really the integration capabilities are limitless. And this is all done because of the fact that we support an iframeless approach when it comes to embedding. So we've seen how I can log in as a user, see a white labeled experience, be able to interact with curated content. But a big part of what makes Logi Symphony different is that you can also enable data exploration and self-service for your users. So in the parent application, there's this reporting tab that I have here where I can access what we see as self-service. So this is, again, presented to the user in any way that you want, that it's going to be familiar for you and your customers, because you're using our APIs to retrieve any of the self-service content that they've created. And I'm going to go ahead and open up one of these self-service dashboards. So this would have been a dashboard that was created by this user and saved so that they can come back and explore it. So I can allow users to build their own dashboards reports, have those available, and these are fully designed to be explored and interactive by the end users. So these are actually called discovery boards, and we call them that because any of these data points can be clicked on and can be immediately explored. So I can drill down into any of these points. So I've selected a specific element on my bar chart. Now I can ask Logi Symphony to show me the breakdown of that element in any way that I'm interested in, whether I want to see the breakdown by hospital grouping, and then I can continue to explore and drill in limitlessly while I have a breadcrumb maintaining that trace for me. Or I can click on any of these data points and tell Logi Symphony to generate a detailed report of all the underlying data behind that point for me. Now I've got a report ready to go that I can export and share with my colleagues. And this goes across all the visualizations, even being able to on the fly change groupings, change what metrics are being displayed. So we really utilize the discovery board feature to encourage users to explore and drill down and analyze into the data and discover their own insights. And if I wanted to start a brand new discovery board from scratch, I can do that by clicking on this Create New button. And now what I get is the full blank canvas ready to go. And again, white labeled to look and feel like it's part of my application. So a big part of why this is important is what you'll often find as a product team is you build out dashboards and reports that facilitate maybe 85% of your customer use cases. But as you get customers wanting more and more customized content, you don't want that to bog down your team and result in a backlog of requests for new dashboards and reports. So with the ability to embed the discovery board editor directly in your application, now as an end user, I could go ahead and say I want to create a brand new visual. I see the data sets that I want to work with. I can pick whatever visual type I want to represent my data in, and I can, let me go ahead and delete that and pick a different data source. There we go. I can pick the data that I want to work with and then start investigating and exploring that data. So in just a couple clicks, I created a new donut chart. I can now do that exact same exploration that we saw a moment ago and change the level that I'm drilling into, view this by hospital, for example. I can change the metrics that I'm showing if I want to see the budget allocated to each hospital, and I can continue to add additional widgets and build out my page and save it as a dashboard that I can return to, and be able to generate those detailed reports on the fly directly off of a visual or a widget that I just created right now in a couple of clicks. So that covers the Symphony portion of the demonstration and really highlights how we want to allow any product teams to take analytics and bring that to their application rather than forcing users to go elsewhere for the analytics, keep them in that experience, keep the experience sticky, and allow them to additionally create their own customized visuals and dashboards if the canned content you've created isn't covering all of their use cases. So in turn, freeing up time with your dev team as well. Now, let's take a look at our AI side of the solution. So how do we incorporate AI into this? And that's with our application, Simba Intelligence. So what you're seeing in the following tab here is a view of Simba Intelligence where I can start by connecting to my data. So the idea is, as Jeff pointed out, we want to allow our customers to connect to their structured data sources, but enable that data to be ready for AI consumption. Directly connecting to raw data with AI will lead to issues on the performance side of things, the governance and security side of things, as well as just the quality and the results that you get back, not necessarily having the context for what the user's actually asking for. So it all starts with connecting to your data. It's as simple as picking the data type that you want to connect to and providing the connection string details. For each deployment of Simba Intelligence, you can enable whatever connectors you want to support. And given our history with Simba developing data connectivity, we can essentially connect to almost any source around. Once you have connected to that source, what we'll do is we'll automatically retrieve the metadata behind that source and understand the full schema of what we're connecting to. So we'll discover all the different entities, the columns and the column types within those entities, how they relate and join with each other and what the relationships are. But we also give you the ability to define missing links that might not necessarily be there in your schema. Once you have that set up, we then want to develop something called a data source. The data source is essentially going to be your AI semantic layer. So that's the layer that we want the AI talking to, that's going to have the governance, it's going to have the context that the AI needs to perform the way that we want it to. And we provide you with an AI agent to help you accelerate that source creation process. So in this case, I can select one of my data sets. I have this marketing data set that I'll work with. And if I wanted to, optionally, I can provide it with a business question or a statement around a problem that I'm looking to solve. And that'll help guide our agent to generate a source that's going to be relevant to that use case. You can even upload documents, whether those are examples of dashboards or reports you'd want to create, or even data definitions, so further information that you'd like our agent to use to help it generate the source more accurately. But I'll go ahead and leave those blank for now, because even without that added context, it's got enough information to determine what that data set might be useful for and generate a source for me to help solve that problem. And it's going to do that and be fully transparent with you in terms of what it's doing. So it's going to use the schema definition as well as sampling from all the different entities in the data sets to generate what it believes are the problems that it can solve identify the necessary fields to help solve that and the joins necessary to do so. And when it's done running this process, you'll have sources that are created that you can start working with. And you can see these sources will be tagged as generated, which indicates that they were created by the AI agent. We also give you the ability to fully develop those sources yourself manually if you'd like to do that, but the AI agent really helps you get that automated process and helps to accelerate that. So again, helping your data engineering teams alleviate the need to do a lot of this manual work. But let's take a look at this data source that we have created here by the AI agent. In this case, this was around that healthcare data that we had seen a moment ago, and it generated a patient radiology study source for me. And what we're seeing here is it's selected all the necessary tables based on what the problem is that I'm trying to solve. So I identified that I need details on my patients, as well as their different reports on MRIs, X-rays, their radiology orders, and imaging metadata. So it's gone ahead and selected all the necessary tables that we need. It's performed the necessary joins between those tables. So now when I want to do NLQ or allow my AI to connect to the data, it's going to connect to this source as a mid layer. And this is going to ensure that all the queries that get sent to the actual underlying database are going to follow this structure. So I'm making sure that the queries are going to be correct. It's not going to select from incorrect tables. It's not going to run something that is not going to be optimized for what the use case is that we're trying to solve for. The next step of the data source, which is again fully set up and automated by the AI agent for you, but can be adjusted manually if you choose to do so, is the field section. So this is where all the context is coming into play. If we look at any of these fields, you'll notice that what you see here under name is the original name of the field in the database. But what we know about customers and their users is their end users aren't DBAs. They're not going to know, what the actual field names were in the underlying data. They're more interested in the business use case and identifying, the business problems that they're trying to solve. So adding that layer of context where we can take the schema names and the schema definitions and convert that into more user-friendly, contextualized labels and names is going to be very important both for the end user and for the AI to be able to talk to that data. And we help automate that process for you. So you can see it's gone through, renamed all the fields to be more relevant and have that business context. It's even hidden duplicate fields that are not necessary for doing NLQ and talking to the data. And it also goes through and applies things like automated formatting. So dates, currencies, numbers, percentages will all get formatted appropriately depending on what the field type is. There's some additional options that you have available here, being able to add calculated fields, being able to customize cache rules and different global settings. But once you've created these data sources, they're ready to start working with. So you can utilize our playground as a way to test and validate that the sources are performing the way that you want. So you can go ahead and click one of the questions here as an example. There's some suggested questions, or you can type in questions that you would like to ask, and you can see that you're getting back the results that you're expecting. And you can also validate those results with the data tab. So this is the actual return data that's coming back from the database and the query that we've executed. So we can see here that it's not AI just hallucinating and making up results. You actually have a paper trail to show that, no, this is the actual result coming back from the query that's sent to the underlying database. So now that I have the data source created and it's performing the way that I want, and I have the context in there, if we again tie back to our North Star about how can we make your applications the smartest person in the room, we've got a data source that's got context added. We've used AI to help set that up. Now I want to use AI to help my users talk to that data and get insights out of that data. So there's two ways that we help you do that. One way is everything that you're seeing here can be exposed in your applications via REST API. So if you want to build your own chatbots or integrate with your own tools through REST, you have that full capability. The other way is through MCP. So if you've got agents that you're developing that interface with data through MCP, or you're utilizing different tools such as Claude, ChatGPT, Copilot, we can directly integrate with those solutions. I'm going to go ahead and open up my local Claude account that I have here, and I've authenticated with my same corporate user that I'm using with Simba Intelligence. So I've got the data governance and the permissions all set up where this user can see certain data sources depending on the permissions granted to them. You can see if I click on this little tool icon within Claude, we've added Simba Intelligence as a connector. So it's very simple to do. Most of these enterprise AI tools and other tools that support MCP can be easily integrated with Simba Intelligence. Now I can allow users to talk to the data in the interface that they go to already, whether that's the app you're building or the apps that you're utilizing with your customers, like a Claude or a GPT as an example. So I'm going to go ahead and ask it a question. Let's start by asking what data sources I have access to. So what we're going to see here is, because it's using SSO with Simba Intelligence, we're going to maintain that governance. So it's going to know that, as we just saw inside of the Simba Intelligence environment, I've only got access to one data source, the patient radiology studies. You can actually see it's going to Simba Intelligence and requesting that. It returns that information for me, and it gives me details on what's included in that data source, what are some different forms of analysis that I might want to ask that data. But I'll go ahead and ask it a question that I've prepared here. So I'm asking what the total number of radiology studies performed are, categorized by the different study types. So you can see that it's taken my question, it's passed it into Simba Intelligence, it's identified the data source that I want to ask, and we got back that data result as we saw inside of the tool, where I can see that this is actually coming back from the actual underlying data. It's not hallucinated numbers coming from Claude. So it's giving me that table. It's also given me some key observations. I could even go ahead and ask it to generate a dashboard for me with that data. So that's where these different AI tools and agents really do a great job, is with the automation and the derived insights from data sets. What we're providing you with Simba Intelligence is the assurance that the data that they're retrieving is accurate, that it's easy for them to talk to that data because we've added that business context. It's secure because we're using the SSO and we know what user should have access to what, and it's going to be performant. So we're ensuring that the queries that are being run are running through the data source, and they're going to be performant using our existing query engine. And in just a couple of seconds, we've generated a dashboard for the radiology studies where I can see those results now presented as a dashboard. I can come back to this. It's saved inside of my Claude. So that's just one of the many ways you can integrate Simba Intelligence into other platforms where your users are going today. With MCP, there's a kind of limitless ability to integrate with other tools along with REST, and coming very soon is the integration with Logi Symphony, where we'll be able to also pair that with dashboard creation, chart creation, and talking to the data on your dashboard as well. So hopefully you've got a lot of useful information on how this could help your products and improve the usability of your products, both from an embedded analytics and an AI integration side of things. I'm going to pass things back to Tim for some questions.
Yeah. Well, first of all, to say what an excellent demo and intro that was. I think, if anything, it shows people just how far we've come in such a short amount of time. It's actually quite ridiculous. But anyway, the questions I've got have nothing to do with how ridiculous it is. It's much more sensible than that. So I'm going to start with you, Jeff, because I think, Danny, you probably need a chance to have a couple of breaths after that. So Jeff, how does grounding AI in enterprise data change the reliability and adoption of analytics?
Yeah. So have you ever asked AI a question and you know very well it doesn't have the answer? You're getting one anyway, right? Actually, I saw an amazing thing online the other day. Someone was saying AI is so good at giving me an answer to any question unless I ask it something where I'm an expert, in which case it doesn't really know. It's one of those things where it's like, yeah, it's really convincing, but you're not going to get the answer. But yeah, short answer is by having that semantic layer in between, it doesn't have to make a guess. It can go back to the data source. As Danny showed, it's got the proof points. You know that it's actually querying the database. You know what it's doing. It's not just making up an answer. So.
Okay, no, that's great. What I always like, by the way, about AI is it's always trying to please me. It's always trying to give me the answer that it thinks I want to hear. So
That's a great
sometimes,
point, Tim.
yeah, no, exactly. So sometimes you almost have to trick it to make it give you the answer it doesn't want to give. Anyway, second question is over to you, Danny, which is how does embedding analytics directly into business applications change user behavior?
Yeah, I'd say it's a huge part of things. What we see with a lot of these applications is ultimately at the core of what they do is they collect data. They have data that helps their users perform better in their day-to-day business use cases. And without that transparency of analytics, you're really kind of shooting yourself in the foot. There's a lot of guesswork that you're going to have to do. And oftentimes what we see is customers that don't provide that built-in analytics in their applications end up having to send that data to their own customers. Their own customers have to invest in a BI tool, set up that whole infrastructure. Where if you can make that part of your service, you're going to keep customers in your app. They're going to have more of a reliance on your services that you provide them, and you can actually learn from what it is they're benefiting from. What are the analytics they're more interested in, and you can more fine tune that within your application.
Yeah, and no iframes in the sites, even better.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, next question is for you, Jeff. What does next generation analytics really mean for enterprises today?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that people used to do in the past was they would just go to the enterprise BI platforms and just try to embed it, right? And as I sort of gave you an intro earlier and through Danny's demo, it's more nuanced than that. I don't want to just shove an application into mine and go, here's your reporting and BI layer, right? I want it integrated. I wanted to understand what the app is doing. I wanted to know contextually what screen am I in so that the data I'm showing is right. So that next level is just going so much further than simply black box, shove it in, see you later, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think we all know the black box effect. Okay, final question actually is for you, Danny.
Mhm.
So how do you see the role of data teams evolving as AI becomes more integrated?
Yeah, I think if we look at what we saw with Simba Intelligence, there is definitely automation that's happening with our agent to help you prep that data, get it contextualized. But that's just a tool to help accelerate the process for those data teams. What you might often find is you want to introduce AI to your data. You want to start that AI initiative. Well, a data team is going to immediately hit the blocker of dealing with IT, dealing with security, dealing with, well, can we actually open that process up? With a tool like Simba Intelligence, we're really looking to help data teams get past that barrier. Because we're not connecting directly to the live data with AI, we're acting as that mid layer, nor are we asking you to move your data to somewhere different, keep it exactly where it is. We're not cloning it. A lot of your IT teams are going to be pretty okay with that process. If we're just simply doing nothing too different than what a BI solution would do, connecting to that data. And now we're giving you tools to help you focus less on writing complex queries, focus less on messing through the schema, and focus more on delivering the solution. I think this is just an evolution of helping those data teams get solutions to markets faster.
Okay, thank you, Danny. That's a great answer. Now, for the final question, I'm sure all of you are asking is, how do I find out more? And the simple answer to that is to click on the link, and so you will find that in the description to the webinar and in the Learn More. And so section, but I'll read out manually for you just in case. So head to insightsoftware.com, that's all one word, insightsoftware.com/data and analytics, and that will take you to where you need to go to learn more. And there is, if you want to see a demo, even beyond Danny's marvelous demo there, then you can request such a thing using a link in the description or the Learn More link. So all that remains to be said is thank you very much for listening. Thank you to Danny and Jeff for such terrific presentation and demo. Until our next webinar, it's goodbye.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.